This is my first time doing this, so figure it out.
Hey, I'm happy to be your first. And this is the first time I'm doing this too, so
Yeah.
we'll roll with it. Take two.
Welcome to Behind the Backspace, where we discuss mechanical keyboards with streamers and people in the community so we can get a better upside of the state of the hobby, as well as getting to know you a bit better. Our guest today is Twitch Screamer with almost 800 followers, Instagram with 8 posts. That's not very many.
I'm not an Instagram guy.
And I've been told you've met Jaren, Nino, Wrongdongs, even Alex Odos.
Yeah, a couple more names out there.
There are a lot more names, but
some highlights. Yeah.
those are the ones that I saw on your Instagram anyway. But we'll talk about meetups later. First of all, thanks for joining me, Banek.
Thanks for having me.
What is on your desk right now? What keyboard is on your desk right now?
On the desk right now is the Bolsa Alice Special Edition, which is a blacked out Alice with a black PVD weight. It's a Milmax PCB with an alu half plate.
Sweet.
That's right, Milmax with alu half plate with Zaku's, and it's holding up all right.
It's not falling out.
Not falling out too bad. You gotta be a little ginger with it, but it's doing all right. And it's got GMK, what's the Stargaze on top there. So here we can
have a look. Oh, that's clean. I like that. That's very clean. And shiny weight. Very shiny. Yes. How are you doing? Like, for real. How are you doing?
I'm raising two kids at home, 5-year-old, 3-year-old. So life is an adventure, I guess we'll say. We're good. I'm happy with it. Like, life's at a good point. It's hectic, but it's rolling, and we're all kind of coasting through it together, kind of thing. And work-life balance is at a good point and stuff like that. So it's overall really good. I'm really happy. I got a lot to be thankful for. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've got 2 kids as well, so 4 and 1. But yeah, it's getting there. Yeah. Now that she can say what she wants, the 1-year-old, it's a bit easier.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
You do your best, but there's only a guessing game.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your life that you recently expected, didn't expect? Anything crazy?
Nothing nothing too out of the ordinary. It's been pretty status quo for the last little bit.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, nothing too out of left field, which is good.
Oh, that's great. Anything that you'd want to share with our listeners, hopefully listeners, coming soon, TM, about yourself? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the hobby now started in 2017, so I won a bit of an older horse in that race. Been around from the relative early days, especially in North American keyboard hobbyists. Started out with I always consider I like keyboards, I like mechanical keyboards, but it was I had a CM Storm with MX Browns, and then I upgraded to a Corsair K70 with MX Browns because I was a tactile guy. I remember I just got an office job relatively recently. That's why I got the Corsair to go along with my CM Storm, and my CM Storm was at home and it was starting to fritz out a little bit. It was losing connectivity randomly, and I was like, I'll just get maybe I'll just get another Corsair. I like it. It has the media keys I like. And I was like, I'll just Google best mechanical keyboard. And I came across the subreddit, mechanical keyboard subreddit, and I started looking at these things that people had, and I was like, what are these? What are those? What is this thing? Why is it shaped that way? And then that just spiraled into a solid 3 weeks where everything else in the world didn't matter except for researching and understanding keyboards. And I tend to get gung-ho with my hobbies like that, but this one has been one that has really stuck with me. I think community wise, everybody's just very supportive and likable and fun to be around. I like the subject matter a ton, and it's just so it went from there, and I jumped into my first group buy, which was a Polaris by AIO3. Was my first group buy, and then my first keycap set was GMK Mizu, which it's shiny as hell, and I love. I'll be buried with that set. That's my favorite keycap set. So it's a little intro.
That's how you show your love to a keyboard. Really, is shining it up with your fingers, isn't it? So
usage, man, get it in there. It's been on 5 different keyboards and has been loved on each one, and it's in a very happy resting place right now, in my opinion.
Just sitting right behind you. Perfect. Look at that. That looks
Paragon with Mizu. And then I had to do the matching I did the Mammoth 20
Yep.
with the matching there,
Yep.
so,
And that's
yeah,
Elu as well,
that's
isn't it? That one.
yeah,
It's a nice
it's
big
fun.
heavy kit together.
Mm.
That's awesome. So you've gone through, I guess, your origin story of that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Because myself, I've only been in the hobby, I'd say pretty relatively, I'm pretty new. I think it was 2022 when
Okay.
I won the sequence from Alex Otis. And
Oh, nice.
I,
Sick.
ever since then, I've just been like, yeah, really, like you say, gun ho into it because the
Yeah.
mechanical keyboards, I was like, I didn't realize there was such a big following and big amount of options.
Yeah.
Even it sounds really stupid as because I used to own a computer shop, so I should really have known
Mhm.
all of that sort of stuff. But knowing that kind of I made it more a bit, yeah, a lot more exciting for sure. Yeah. Other than keyboards, do you have any other hobbies? And I can see a whole bunch of mice behind you, which looks like you're
Yeah,
into mice.
yeah,
So
I'm just, like, a bit of a peripheral guy, like,
yeah,
I just, like, gaming mice for sure is another one that I have,
yeah,
although it's dropped off a bit for me just because I've really found, like, my little rotation,
yeah.
and I've dropped off that hobby a little
That's
bit.
good.
It to a point, I think, with mice where you're once you find some shapes that you like, you're nitpicking at that point.
Yeah.
And I stopped gaming for a while too, so it also led to me falling out a little bit with it.
Yep.
But again, I'm happy with my collection and where that's at. But
Nice.
modding them and repairing them is still fun. I've
Mhm.
done some cable making. I had plans to do like water cooling of my PC. I have all the
Mhm.
parts. It just never got around to finishing the
Yep.
build. But other than that, I'm a goaltender in hockey,
Yeah.
and I still play beer league. We're actually in the finals right
Oh,
now of
that's
our
awesome.
beer league. We're defending
Yep.
champs, and we lost the first game in OT yesterday.
Oh no.
So we're down one game in a best of 5 here. So we're going to try to come back on tomorrow night. But
It's not.
so
Are you talking
that's
ice hockey
great.
or are you
Yeah.
talking like field hockey?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
ice
yeah,
hockey.
yeah.
Oh
I
wow.
also played roller
Yeah, yeah,
hockey also as a
yeah.
goaltender.
Nice.
I've been playing hockey since I was like 5, and I've been a goalie since I was like 9, which is like really young to be like a full-time committed goaltender.
Mm-mm.
So I basically only really known hockey as a goalie,
So you like to
and
get bid on, is what you're saying?
little bit,
you,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, for
like
sure. Oh,
the
no.
puck going and
Yeah.
stop.
Well, see, the funny thing
Yeah.
for me with
Mm.
that is that, like, I'm the most protected guy on the ice.
True.
I got the most gear on.
That's
So,
true.
like, the defenseman and the other guy standing in front of the pucks,
Hmm.
they're the crazy ones,
That's
man.
true.
I'm not the crazy one. Like, yeah.
Do you get into a lot of fist fights and stuff like that with those guys as well?
I've had a couple tips, but
Nothing
nothing
crazy.
crazy. I
No.
think, like, I've never had a goalie bout. That's the one thing
Imagine goalie versus goalie.
I never had one of those. Those are always awesome.
It's not really something that's so popular in Australia, so I don't get to see a lot of
Yeah,
it. But
that's fair. Yeah,
very,
I mean, from Canada, so it's, like, in my blood.
yeah.
So it's, yeah, and then as of last year, golf has been a
Mm,
big one for me that I've been really, dedicating some time to and trying to get
nice.
better. So and it's been really fun. It's
Something
been
you
really
can
good.
slow down a bit with as well.
Yeah, and the kids are been liking it. So as soon as I get a little older, for sure,
Yep.
I'm gonna try to, and then I can tell them, "Okay, I'll take the kids out for a round," and then my wife gets a little
Swing
bit of
in.
a break too, so it's been,
That's yeah, yeah. No, that's
it's
really
good.
good. No, I do love a couple of smacks at the range, but I don't really go for rounds of golf. That's not my thing for sure.
Yeah, I got a round coming up on Friday, actually.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
playing
There
around.
you go. What's your do you have a good handicap on it or no handicap or
I'm not very good. Like, I never really well, so, like, I've been playing golf since I was, like, a teenager kinda thing. Like,
cool.
my dad was a big golfer. He golfed every
Mhm.
week, and I would golf, like, once, twice a year kinda
Yeah.
thing, just probably, indulging a little bit too much as we're going through the round kinda deal,
Mm.
as opposed to focusing on the actual hitting of the ball. So, it
Yeah.
wasn't until, like, last year that I latched onto it and started trying to improve myself and play a little bit better. So I'd say right now I'm hovering around, like, a 20 something handicap, but I'm not
That's
at the
cool.
point where I'm like, if I can break 100, giving myself a couple knocks here and there, I'll take that, and it's just about having a good time,
Oh, of
so
course, of course, and not losing too many balls because those things can get expensive.
trying, yeah.
So that's
So
always me as a slice goes up, gone. It
yeah,
just doesn't come back.
that's the typical. I'm still fighting a little
No,
bit. I've learned a little bit better about, like, what are the tendencies that I have that lead to that
yeah,
and how to correct that, and I'm getting a little bit better.
that's awesome.
I lost, like, 6 months. I injured my elbow back in, like, October
Mm,
playing hockey, and I'm still dealing with the after effects of
That's right.
I like severely hyperextended it deal,
Yep.
so it's been a little bit of a road back
I
to
remember that. I
playability,
do
but
remember you telling me about that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Are you a night owl or early bird?
night owl.
Night owl?
100. I've been a night owl since I
Yeah.
was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like I've just
That's
always been like 1 a.m. is an early bedtime for me.
yep.
So,
Same.
yeah,
Basically. I mean,
yeah,
last night I think I messaged you at like 2 a.m. or something. So yeah, it's I was
yeah.
up. I shouldn't have been because I knew we were going to be up at 7, but
So
it
hey,
happens.
you're preaching. Like again, you even with the two kids, you're like, oh, it's I should go to bed. They're gonna be up in 4 hours, and you're like, nah, I'll a half hour
Yeah,
more, it'd be fine.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
fine. It'll be fine.
I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning. I'll be all
That's
right.
great. So yeah, cool. We've talked about hobbies and yeah. Ah, okay. Let's go with something more specific to mechanical keyboards then. Who's taught you?
Sure.
Who do you think has taught you the most about mechanical keyboards?
I think there's no individual that I could really call out. It's
Yep.
been I like if I had to the mechanical keyboard subreddit has been the most
Yeah.
like enlightening
Mm,
in terms of trying to find like feedback and stuff like
yeah.
that. And then like it's grown from like the collective of keyboard streamers that I watch and interact
Yeah.
with. And I guess I could put one name on it would be my friend Erin, who she was a big influence in
Mm,
me. She was already into mechanical keyboards when
nice.
and she was working in my office,
Mhm.
and so we clicked off that and she's into like orthos and splits
Mm,
and more budget side stuff and just like hand modding, and
yeah.
so that's where a lot of the I would say like more fundamental and ability in person I would have to go to credit, but yeah,
Awesome.
there's been yeah, and internet is just such a vast plethora of information
It's
that
true.
I've managed to siphon some out enough to feel pretty confident in the hobbies, which is tough, man. I mean, you talk to newer people coming into the hobby, and the biggest thing with that, it's overwhelming. There's just so much information on like
Mm,
what stabs to use and what's the right switches and should I be in this group buy? Should I buy? Look at all the follow this
yeah.
thing in the last little bit with
Yeah.
everything, and it's a lot of risk reward type. I think starting to put a bit of a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths with the hobby, but just that navigation side is it can be very difficult.
Yeah, I'd put it down to learning Tarkov, basically. the, the
Yeah,
the learning curve is like this, and then it's just straight up for about
yeah,
3 months, and then you're like, oh, it
yeah,
plateaus out because you're like, oh,
yeah.
that's actually not that hard, but it's all at once.
Just
Yeah,
like
it's just not so difficult, but it's just trying to get it all together as one
yes. And
meaning.
I think it's like as you start to go down one rabbit hole, you like open up another one and you're like, do I keep going down the rabbit hole that I'm in
That's
or do
true.
I go down this new rabbit hole and when do I come back to that other rabbit hole
Yep.
that I was in before? And now I have 40 tabs open on my computer and I don't know what I was originally looking at.
That's true.
So, there's one thing I think that isn't talked about really is like the anxiety around it
Mm,
where like you want to like buy a keyboard,
yeah.
right? And it seems pretty simple on
Mm,
the surface, and then you start thinking about it and researching a little bit,
yeah.
and you're like, "Well, what form factor do I want?" Or like,
It's
do
true.
like what mounting am I gonna like?
Yep.
Am I gonna like this O-ring versus a
Mm,
gasket versus a burger mat? Like, what is that? Like, even the information around it is construed and Tempest mod,
yep.
Band-Aid
Yep.
mod, like this mod, like, and do I need to do that to my
Yep.
board? Do I like this guy did it, but then this guy said never do that. Why would you ever do that?
Oh
And
man.
so it's just how do you navigate this? And then you go, okay, I'm gonna put my money and I'm gonna buy this thing. And then it's you're sweating for a year, it's 18 months, and then maybe it arrives, maybe yours doesn't, maybe you got some your PCB doesn't
Doesn't work or whatever.
work
Yeah.
properly, right? Or you can't
Mm,
you got to figure out how to flash something in QMK,
yep.
and again, it's just there's so much to it that people don't realize that it's deep,
That's
man.
true. That's true.
So
Now you've said before that you really love Franken-switching,
yeah,
and
I mean, another rabbit hole if you want to
a
talk
very
about,
big
right?
rabbit
Where
hole, isn't it? So
and I mean, the funny thing for me with Franken-switching is that I fully am in the boat of it's not really like a worthwhile hobby at this point,
mm,
and within the offerings that are available at the price points that you can get them at, why would I spend in Canadian dollar like three
yeah,
bucks
per
per
switch.
switch essentially if I'm gonna make a BCP or something
Mhm.
versus just buying even like a B-Sun
Yeah,
BCP, right?
that's
Which
right.
are like you're getting 90 plus percentage of the way there. And in some cases, people are going to prefer that over the Franken switch, and they're not going to
That's it.
like the Franken switch as much. And now you're sitting here, $100 and something down the drain with switches that you're like okay with, you like them, but so yeah, it's Franken switching is a funny thing where I think I got into it early enough where it was a bit of a necessity a little bit if you wanted to
That's true.
find specific characteristics, because it was a little bit more of a niche where it was just long poles aren't really too much of a thing when I started, and I really liked long poles early on, and so the idea of BCPs and just playing around with different material
That's
combinations,
true.
finding specific characteristics of switches that I liked, and seeing what they were like together.
Mhm.
Like for myself, especially, like I'm a big tactile guy.
Yep.
I really like tactiles, especially if I'm doing like just general typing stuff.
Mhm.
I prefer to type on tactiles. Gaming wise, I tend to prefer linears
Yeah.
just because I play like Valorant a lot, and so it like you do a lot of like AD kind of
Yep.
movements, and so over a tactile bump, I was getting annoyed that it was like hovering there a little bit.
Mhm.
So I'm actually silent linears when I game,
There you go.
because I when I do my little clips of my shots or whatever, I kept hearing the keyboard
Yeah.
in the background,
That's
and
it.
I hated it.
Mhm.
So I built a that's the there you
Oh,
see
yep.
is with silent
Yeah, very
linears
cool.
in it, with the Wuche Studio silent linears, which are like the
Mm.
Haimu ones with the cantilever
Yes.
inside, so they don't have like the actual dampening, which I'm the mushy dampening. I can't do it.
Mushy
This is
dampening
no
is not my
mm-mm,
thing either.
mm-mm,
It is for some
mm-mm.
people, obviously, that if they're used
Yeah,
to maybe having the old school mushy keyboards, but
yeah, it
it's
just feels like typing in like a swamp, like mud. Like it just doesn't like even
I've never
like
tried typing in a swamp, but yeah, I can imagine. That's what
it just feels sluggish
yeah,
and like bad. It
yeah,
just ugh.
yeah.
But even something like the Boba U4TX,
Mhm.
right? Where like the half thock,
Yep.
I just could either I was like, oh, maybe on the upstroke is interesting. Like, and I ended up winning some actually in a giveaway, and that's where I was like, okay, I'll try them out.
Yeah.
And I got them, and I was like, it's still even on the upstroke, it like it somehow feels like it's grabbing onto my finger in a way that just
Yeah.
doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
So those are the only silence I
It's
was
hard, isn't it?
on
Like
my
that sort of thing you're getting into very
yes,
specific sound profile that you
yes,
want to have out of a
yes,
keyboard. And
yeah,
it's just too
feel
much
and
stuff that goes into that such a specific point of an
yeah.
upstroke sound versus a downstroke sound, stuff like that, which most people, I'd say 90% of people wouldn't even care about.
Wouldn't even
No,
realize that there's
because
really
they're not
the fact that there is a
listening to it.
downstroke and an upstroke
Yeah.
noise, that there's 2.
Yeah.
You're when you're typing, you don't get
Well,
single
plus there's
noise, you
three
get
when you actually hit bottom out as well. So
sure, yeah, you
if
could
you bottom
even
out.
argue there that there's the if you're really, like, and depending on
Mm,
how heavy-handed you're typing, right, if those
mm,
2 kinda sounds are amalgamating together or not,
yep.
and again, characteristics of are you typing on alu, are you typing on palm,
Mm,
or like a
that's it.
full plastic case versus alu and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of that side, this and I mean, that's the big takeaway, I think, for keyboards too, is,
Mm.
like, it's a lot of very subtle things.
Very subtle but specific things.
Yes. Yeah, and it's really only I mean, just getting into some of the other questions you're gonna ask, but, like, it's really comes down to, like, if you have the things side by side,
Mm,
that's the only time you're gonna notice
that's
them.
it.
Like, you can't tell me that if I give you 2 switches and I tell you one's lubed with 205 and one's lubed with 3204, that you're gonna be able to tell me
No,
exactly which one's
no way.
which. Like, give me a
No.
break. And in an overall experience, if you give me a full keyboard with one or the other, maybe, but I'm shooting in the dark, man.
That's it.
Like,
That's
don't
it.
give me this shit.
No, no way. Like
No.
I get that, we all love specifics about the keyboards, and that's why we
Mhm.
do it.
I
But
love it.
if you're gonna say that you can hear something, like, come on, there's certain things you can hear, but like, yeah, if there's a different lube or different, like in such a specific way, and that's a specific, no way. Like it is crazy.
I'd argue if you're able to pull it out, it's because you overlubed.
True,
It's because you applied
true.
the lube
Yeah,
incorrectly. That
that's
would
the
be the
only
only way that I could say that you could really pick it out and say like, "Oh, this was lube with 205,"
yeah,
is because they probably put too much
too much.
205.
Yes,
Versus like with 3 or 204, you can get away with a little bit of an over lube and not
that's it.
have it really come through.
Yeah,
So and that's what I'm talking about in
mm,
terms of like those subtleties of like you don't understand
yeah,
that level of subtlety until you really get hands on with it
hmm
and experience it more. But like in a side by side comparison, for somebody who an experienced Switch modder who modded both well, I don't think you're gonna make a difference
No
between
way.
them, really.
No,
So
you're right. Because I could keep talking about that for a time, because
I
there's a
mean,
lot of that.
I love that's the side like spurs these like longer
Mm,
conversations, right? It is that subtlety and those little
mm,
your tendencies and your preferences. Like that's what this hobby's all
yeah,
about. That's my if I got one thing to preach about
mm,
the hobby, it's like love your preferences,
yeah,
like find your preferences
mm,
and love them, but and be open to other experiences and never try to say that your feeling about it is going to necessarily be better.
no,
It's all personal.
it is.
You're never you should never be like no gatekeeping.
Yeah,
Like get out of here with that.
yeah,
That's the worst thing. You want to talk about like a relatively niche hobby, and you want to try to say that like if you're not typing on MX Box on Alu, like
no,
I can't be your friend. Like get out
no,
of
come on.
here, man. Yeah.
I mean, that comes down to a lot of how that person may may perceive everything in life, to be honest. So, I mean, that's another story. We're not going to talk about that,
Yeah.
but no, it does come into a lot of different things with talking about life, and it does interact with that because you having an open mind about switches and stuff like that. Maybe you're more open minded in your own life as well. So
Hmm.
it sounds a bit strange, but that's how I view it as well. It's like if someone's so closed minded, they don't want to try a different switch, they won't even look at it, they won't even touch it, kind of thing. It's like that seems quite closed minded in a lot of ways, more than just talking about keyboards only.
And, like, I think there's you can have that preference,
Yes,
and you can say all of my keyboards are MX Blacks with Alu because that's the holy
and
grail,
actuated
that's
a
the
million times and all the rest.
yeah, right, diamond polished and everything else, and, like and that's your thing, that's great,
That's
but, like,
awesome.
I still think that you should be somebody who's excited at the idea of, "Let me try these HMX
Yep.
switches that just came out, and let me give it a whirl and see maybe MX Blacks were the holy king for
For a
15
while.
years of my life, and all of a sudden now it comes out with something new, and I find something that try something new off the menu. There's tried and true is good and like comfort zones. Stay in your comfort zone if you want, but especially and again, this is like personal preference. Like I'm very much about I want to try every color of the rainbow.
Yep.
Give me every flavor of the Skittles. Give me like and that's why like my collection, I the only keyboard that I have of the same format is 60% because
Yeah.
it's my favorite layout. But I didn't really settle on that until I had one of every layout basically. And
Until yeah.
I don't have a 40% and I
Mm.
don't have like a split like I technically have a split, but it's not built. It's not for me and ortholinear not really. But like, I've tried those things. I
Mm.
just didn't really resonate.
Not preference, yeah.
And but like how would I know that until I
That's
experienced
right.
it for myself?
Well,
So
that comes back to going to meetups, basically. So that's a good
yeah,
segue to, are you heading to
100%.
Keep Life this year? Are you going to one of those big meetups?
There's it's up in the air
Yeah.
right now.
Obviously,
I
with 2
would
kids,
love
it's a bit
to
more difficult
yeah,
to organize
yeah,
that, but
and the wife just went back to school
mhm,
and she quit her job, so it's a little tougher,
of course.
with that, and
Mm,
so I would adore the idea of it, and it's
mhm.
still there, but it's right now whether or not
No,
it's
that's
gonna
right.
come
And
through, so
you
we'll
still go to, like, local meetups and things like that, I would say.
yeah, it's really unfortunate. The big Vancouver meetup is
Mhm.
happening when I'm actually gonna be in Disneyland with the
Oh, no.
kids. So I'm away for
Well, I
it, but
mean,
that's okay.
it's
I
Disneyland versus
still
keyboard Disneyland, so you're winning either way, really.
So, no, it's still it'll be good, it'll be fun.
Nice.
I can't complain.
Yeah.
Timing could be better.
No,
I
that's
still
cool.
have, like I have buddies come over once in a while, and we do little keyboard meetups ourselves kinda thing, so I still got those to look forward to and stuff,
That's
so,
awesome. That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
coming back to your switches, what are your favorite top
Sure.
3? Do you have a top 3?
Top 3 switches, Ducaro Emerald Greens
Mhm.
are my favorite switch.
Is that Frank's?
No, it's a tactile switch. They're, like, relatively, like, niche.
Mhm,
They're produced by Haimu,
mhm.
who, like, I'm, like, a Haimu simp, like,
Yeah,
every Haimu switch I'm a big proponent of and will advocate for them.
yeah.
They're very interesting to me because like so I'm a like, okay, like, just, like, as a small
Mm,
kinda intro, like, I have a decent collection. This isn't even all of them. I haven't gone through and cataloged them all, and but these switches are a really good
yep.
example. They're actually these ones here, the kinda tealy
Oh, yeah.
ones
Teal with
there.
black? Yep.
Yeah, with a white it's a white stem,
Okay.
but it's with a black bottom, yeah,
Yep.
teal top, black
Is that
bottom with a white
POM
stem.
or
Palm top,
nylon bottom?
the nylon
Yeah.
bottom, and stem is palm
Okay.
also, I wanna
Yep.
say.
53.
But 63.5 gram
Okay.
spring.
Yep.
And they're a very good example for me of like trying a switch in a switch tester, like a you can only get so, or like holding it in your finger and tapping it. Like
Yep.
there's only so much you can get out of it, because if you were to just touch that switch by itself, it doesn't feel super tactile.
No.
Like it's a relatively like small bump in just that single,
Yep.
but there's something about putting it into a full keyboard
Mm.
and it's, for me, the best definition I have for it is just a fun switch.
Yep.
There's something about like the way it sounds, it just tickles the brain in the right way
Yeah.
for me. And the feel, like it just gives a just a very crisp and like it's a snappy return.
Nice.
I love the sound profile of it, and it's just, yeah, there's no modding necessary on
Yep.
it out of the box. It's a great experience,
Nice.
and even the
do
linear
Do you
the
have an
same. I
affiliate
really like.
code for anywhere to buy one?
Stupid
Super
Bullets
Bullets.
is the
There you go.
only vendor that I know sells them, and him and I have jabbed a lot about keyboards and
Yeah.
stuff too, and he's told me that he's like, "These are gonna be the next thing on the market,
Yep.
like, these are the big switch," and he got, like, a big stock of them, and they're just, like, not really selling
Oh,
because
no.
they're like, nobody's really heard of
No
them.
one's heard of them. That's it.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I
so yeah,
myself haven't really heard of Haimu, but I know there are quite a lot of Haimu switches, but I just
yes, yeah.
haven't delved into that.
Well, like, 'cause like, the Wuche Studio switches are technically Haimu
Yeah.
designed, the Geon switches
Mhm.
are also Haimu designed,
Yeah.
like, he's got his fingers in a lot of different places, and none of them really have his name technically on
Yeah.
them. So you wouldn't really know that you're dealing with a Haimu switch unless you
That's
know
true.
you're dealing with a Haimu
Yeah, yeah.
switch, so,
No,
yeah.
that's cool. I like that. I like that.
And to other ones, again, I tend towards, like, my favorites are more
Tactiles,
tactiles.
yeah.
I have a favorite Franken switch, which would be a bit of I don't know what to call it because I came up with my, so it's a purple panda stem with a T1 housing,
Mhm.
T1 sunflower housing, and it's just like really tactile.
Yep.
It sounds good. It needs a little bit of love because there is quite a bit of sorry, I'm blanking. Not spring ping, but
Leaf ping?
leaf ping.
Yeah.
Thank you. So they do need a little bit of what I call leaf
Yep.
shrouding mod, which
Just a little
I
bit
think,
of
have we
tape.
talked
Yeah,
about
I've
that
done one of
before?
those before. It was
I do
very
it with
tedious.
I do it with the leftover pieces of
Mm.
foam
Yep.
films. I use the little flat leftover bit, and
Yep.
I put it into the top housing, and it sits in there
Yep.
really well, and it takes away
I
foam.
have done that because
It's
there was one that was super pingy like
yes.
that, and it worked really well, but you have to really make sure it's in there, otherwise you could get
Yeah.
one or two that just ping like crazy, and it's not fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that's awesome.
And then number 3
Mm,
would probably go probably Zaku's
Zaku's, yeah.
are another one that I'm a big fan of. Price-wise, not really, and, like,
Mm,
you can get the same experience with other switches, but
yep,
I've had those since, like, first run Zaku's,
there you go.
and, I love them. They sound great. They needed some love with some modding,
Mhm,
but they're really up there in terms of
yep.
a switch that I feel I could put in any board and get enjoyment out
Mm.
of.
Well, I can show you a couple of mine. These ones are my favorite, which are, I've totally forgot the name of them now. Queens. Well,
I'm not
they're from
familiar.
AliExpress. I can't remember how much they were. They were super, super cheap, like $30 for 60 or
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
Very,
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
cheap, but like very
Yeah.
smooth switches. No, like I
Mhm.
lube them up and stuff like that. These ones I have Sakura switches in there, which
Yep.
are again from AliExpress, but out of the box, flawless.
Are those not the Zeal Sakuras?
Not Zeal Sakuras, no, just maybe a clone. I'm not sure, but
Sure, sure,
I'm
sure,
not
sure.
sure 100%. But they are definitely like one of my more favorite switches, especially on this keyboard. So it's
Yeah,
this pinky with white.
yeah.
I believe it's 53 grams, but it's a very nice keyboard. Well, with this is like a full AliExpress build, so that's why I was going for.
Nice.
So that's my
Sick.
AliExpress keyboard GMK67, which is gasket mounted.
Looks like a Zoom 65.
Plastic though.
Yeah, but
Plastic.
no, but it
Yeah,
gives you the
the
look,
vibes.
you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
guess.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Without the
yeah.
yeah.
But no, it's really good and wireless because I'm a wireless preferer as well. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
that's me.
Yeah, I'm luckily for me, like, I'm pretty solidified in my desk setup,
Mm,
so, like, and the cable matching the setup is
yeah,
a thing for me, so I tend to go towards
yeah.
the wired, but I do understand the appeal of the wireless, and I was more of a like Ampro 2 was my wireless, that I still have it as my wireless one. I've work out on the deck and in the sun and stuff like that. So
There you go.
it's nice to have something that's still and stuff like that. So I get
No,
that.
it's good. I mean, it's just the way my desk is set up. I don't have any place for the wires to go down into my
Sure.
computer, so
It will a
it's
bitch,
yeah,
man.
pain. Plus, I don't know if you've seen the way that my monitors are set up. This just I've
I
actually
have
set
seen your
I
setup.
set it up
I have seen your monstrosity. Yeah.
my monstrosity, but it's
Your
good. It
and hey, yeah, it works. It
handcrafted,
works. Oh, I'm
handcrafted
not trying to
desk setup.
knock it. I'm not trying to knock it.
Let's go with that.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. No, it was fun. Like I had the boards left over and stuff like that, so I picked it up and I
Mhm,
was like, you
mhm,
know what?
mhm.
That's awesome.
Hey, man, I'm all about coming up with a
Yeah.
solution, the engineering a solution, the problem solving.
Mm.
I love that side. That's great.
And the thing is, the screens were never at the correct height, and that was my pet peeve. I needed them to
Yeah, your
be
big gripe. Yeah.
higher, and nothing would get them higher.
Mm,
Even like I tried like expensive mounts and all this stuff, nothing would work. So just
yeah.
physically mounting them on wood, that's the easiest way I could figure it out. Yeah,
There you go.
there you go. We'll go to favorite streamers. Do you have any favorite streamers? Can you pick
Man,
just one?
how can I pick just one, right? I mean, if I had to if I had to, I'd probably go with 9.
Yeah,
I mean, like, just her energy, and
mad
it's
energy. Love
always
her. Yeah,
you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. Like, it is,
that's true.
you know, is she gonna be hammering something? Is she gonna be in a blow up suit?
That's
Like,
right.
you want to talk about entertainment
Yeah,
factor? She's
100%.
got it in spades, man.
Yeah.
And she's just such a palpable energy
Hmm.
and just so fun to watch. But I mean, other notables. I mean, like Joran,
Yeah,
I love, and
Jordan for sure. Well, because
Alex
he's
Soto's
local
one
to
of
you,
the
so that makes
OGs.
sense, right?
Well, I mean, he's
Yeah,
Canadian, he's not local to me, but we definitely vibe
yeah.
for sure, get the old man vibe, but
Say old
and,
man, like he's barely 45, something like that.
well, yeah, no, he's got the vibe,
Yeah,
though. It's
he
not
does have the
necessarily an
vibe, but
age
he's got
thing, it's not
yeah,
an age thing.
yeah, sure.
No, but we again, the Canadian thing, we also actually have some, like, overlap between our work knowledge
Yeah,
stuff, so
nice.
we vibe that way too and stuff, but,
Very cool.
I mean, obviously, Alex Soto's another guy who's just, like, one of the kinda OG guys that really brought the hobby into the forefront,
That's
and the other one that I wanna, give a shout Beige Lad, like, what a
come
beauty.
on. Don't do that.
No, it's
Don't do
okay.
that.
Whether you're truck simming or
Mm,
whatever else, it's always a good time.
mm.
I always like chatting with
No,
you.
I
So,
mean,
oh, and your next guest, Jack Picty,
I'm
another
looking
guy
forward
who
to yeah, Jack Pickett.
7-foot keyboards or whatever other Frankenstein thing this guy's coming up with. Like, I love it.
Yep,
Like, this guy's just whatever's in his head, funky 60s and whatever
yeah,
else. I'm here for it. Like,
that's it.
the guy's a beauty, and I love having him in the hobby. So I'll give him a good shout out
That's
for
it.
sure.
That's it. Got any questions for Beige?
I guess, like, where do you see the hobby going in, like, the next couple of years? What do you see on the horizon here? And, is it doom and gloom, or is there still things to latch onto?
In my mind, I think there's going to be a lot of doom and gloom, unfortunately,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
also there's going to be a lot of, I would say, innovations coming up soon.
mm,
Only
sure.
because the keyboard technology hasn't really progressed, you would say, in the last 20 years, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a bit of plastic holding a spring in it and it activates.
yeah.
That's it. But
Yeah, and
you
maybe if
a
you
lot.
wanna pull in, like, Hall effect switches in terms of relative and, like, Wooting
Wooting ones. Yeah,
60 HE is
that's
one
it.
that people talk about, but even
Mm,
then, I mean, it's you're nitpicking
yeah.
at benefits.
I just
Yeah,
think there's
so
gonna be a lot of people that or not a lot of people, but a lot of maybe warehouses or something that just can't keep going because
mm.
people have bought up to their limit and there's not that many more people joining the hobby. From what I've seen, there's not the same amount of people joining the hobby as of
I mean,
recently.
look at the secondhand market.
Yeah.
It's I haven't even really been following it too
Mm,
much, but I know it's been hard to move
mm,
secondhand
very
market.
much so.
It's not things are not moving as
There's
much as, like,
way more on the
they
secondhand
were.
market and the prices are
Yes,
way higher than they should
way
be.
down. Well,
For
but
us.
prices have come way down from
Mm,
what they
true.
were 2 years ago, right?
Mm,
When you could get into a group buy specifically for a flip,
yeah,
right? You could make a
yeah.
decent kind of return on that, and
Mm,
you're now if you're gonna try that, it's a big risk. You're probably gonna be sitting with product longer than you wanna
yeah.
be, and unless you have something that's really desirable,
Yeah. Like I've seen
which
a W1AT, for example, even with a couple of scratches, still going for $700 AUD, which is
yeah,
crazy to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Like I thought that would drop it down quite a lot more, but you know, secondhand market in Australia is very, let's say, it's a lot smaller than You would think, because there's only like 2 or 3 different places you can sell things on the secondhand market. There's the Snag Keys, there's the Cafage shop as well.
Sure,
He does
sure.
secondhand and stuff like that, and then maybe on
Yeah.
Facebook. But out of all of
Mhm.
those, you'll probably get the most out of the Snag Keys Discord, but only if someone's
Well,
wanting
and
it,
you gotta really, like,
100% wanting
you
it.
gotta really hope somebody's looking specifically for what you're offering,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, again, you're for somebody who's, like, coming into the hobby right now, like, the more budget options are just so
Mm.
good that, like, why would I
Budget
spend
options.
500 drop $500 on
Yeah.
something when I can spend 100,
$100.
get a Cycle 7
A Circle 7,
or
yeah.
the Cycle something that's, like, again, like 90-85% of the way
Yep.
to a $500 keyboard, where unless I'm really into the hobby deep, like somebody like myself,
Yep.
they're not gonna really notice the difference between those
It's
2
true.
until I sit them down and show them and maybe they'll be like, "Oh, this is really nice," but I'm also, is it worth another $500?
Mm.
No, I don't like,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
Even for me who's like, I can try to rationalize it, but I can not.
No, it's
It's
not.
not.
It's not.
It's only because it's a hobby for me, and it's a love and a passion that I would be willing to fork that over for it. I latch on to the, like, I know the designers, right? Like, I am in their discords and I know who they are. And the Paragon's a good example where, like, the day the IC was posted on Geek Hack,
Mm.
because this was at the time where I was like following, I would every day, I'd be refreshing Geek Hack multiple times to see new posts. And the day that it was posted, I followed and commented in there saying, like, this board looks great.
Mhm.
And I was pumped. I'm a sucker for thick bezels and skylines on weights, and it, like, hit all things, and I didn't have a 75%, and I wanted something with a knob too,
Yep.
and it just checked all the box great. I loved the symmetry, and so it was, I was just gung ho from the get-go. So that was the moment it opened, I was clicking through. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
but again, if you don't have the passion for it, you're not gonna be spending $1,000 on
That's
a
true.
keyboard, right? Like,
Yep. That's 100% true. Oh, great. Well, thanks for joining me. I think, do you want to go through
yeah.
rapid fire questions? Do you want to
Sure, hit me,
go
yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
So, favorite Switch? I think you already went
That
through
was
it.
the
High mood
Ducaro
Ducaro
MO green.
tactile. Favorite
Yeah.
keycaps?
GMK Mizu.
Miso. There you go. Oldest one you got.
Yeah.
So you already went through
Yeah,
those.
that's
That's
the
awesome.
OG.
Split backspace, yes or no?
On a 60%, yes.
Uh-huh.
Basically everything else, I'd say no.
Okay. Spacebar. Do you go split? Obviously, depends. There's
I
split 7U or 6.25. Which would you go?
So I'm a for the most part, I would say
Mm.
7U. In some layouts, it doesn't work very
Yep.
well. And 6.25, like, for certain, if you're for certain, like, exploded 65%, 6.25U.
Yep.
For exploded 75%, probably 6.25.
Yep.
So it depends on, like, symmetry bottom. I'm a little bit flexible, but I tend to ward 7U.
Yep. If you were a keyboard shortcut, what would it be?
Let's see. Probably
I know this random.
for me, it would be Alt S, but it's only because that's my highlight key
Mm.
for gaming or
Yeah,
whatever else.
that's true.
There's my shortcut
There you
that I
go.
would be.
Well, no, that's awesome. Thanks for joining me on Behind the Backspace.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was
It's been
great.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I'll catch up later and
Yeah.
go from there.